Spoilers! Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am the Immortal and Sam and Trust.blogspot.ca. As usual, I'll put a link to my blog in the description. Now, I hope we're all prepared. I hope we all have helmets on because we don't want to get our brains splattered all over the walls because that was the weirdest thing ever, and your brain will explode if you try to watch that and try to make a fair amount of sense of it. Now, it does make sense in the end, of course, but it's just one of those things that you're watching and like, what am I looking at? While it's all going on, it's very well written. It's very classy. It's very, I would almost say Shakespearean. Sorry. It's, but it's just such a weird concept. Now, if you haven't seen it, first of all, again, spoilers, and I recommend you watch it. But this is some weird crap. Um, First of all, this is another story of kind of another one of those philosophical things that I keep mentioning. Now, again, some of these episodes don't really fit with it, but well, now that I think about it, maybe that one might have. But like I said, some of the episodes had like philosophical or kind of like brain teaser kind of things in, and the first two-parter had what happens if you go back in time and meet somebody who you haven't met yet, or somebody you've met before, but this time you're meeting them as a kid long before you ever meet them. What happens if you live forever? What happens if you what happens if you lose the ability to sleep? What happens? Like all of these different things, and they're all kind of these big questions and things like that. Now maybe I'm just looking too deep into it, especially with a lot of these, especially with the sleep thing. But this one is definitely one of the more mind-bendy ones because the Doctor goes through this entire big thing, and at the very end you realize that he has literally been doing this exact same routine for thousands, millions, billions of years. And he keeps coming back to it, so he can make a little progress on this wall of this, like, indestructible wall of... I don't remember what he called it, but it's like 1,000, 2,200, 2,000, I can't remember what exact number it was, but stronger than diamond. And every time he gets to it, he manages to punch it a couple times. And he gets a little farther in every single time he hits it. And eventually he does get through. But it takes I think 3-4 billion years. And every time he mentions it's almost as if I've time traveled so many years. He looks up at the sky and he notices that the stars are in the wrong places and things like that. Now, the first time I saw that, when I saw the stars, the first thing that came to my mind was, oh, he's on Gallifrey, isn't he? Or he's at least on some kind of illusion of Gallifrey, or they're making him think it is because of whatever this place is. Whatever this tower, this torture dungeon, whatever the hell you want to call it, is. Whoever created it, it made it specifically to mess with the Doctor. Now, or to get him to confess things. Now that's kind of the interesting keyword there. We eventually find out that this creature that's been following him is this thing that is designed to make him afraid. Right? That's very interesting because it is designed to make him scared. It's designed to make him confess things because it stops when he confesses something. We eventually find out that he is inside of that confessional from the beginning of the season. Which, God only knows how any of this makes sense. I get the feeling this is all going in a loop. This is all a gigantic time loop, and I'm just... it's borderline bootstrap paradox, but we've talked about that before. And we eventually... he walks out of it. He holds up the disc, which turns into the confessional, or at least a disc that looks like it. And he talks to this boy and he says, he says something around the lines of, I want you to find the most important person you can find. Tell them I'm coming. When they ask who they are, just tell them I came the long way around. And then the camera pans over to The giant glass dome city of the main city of Gallifrey, and we find out that he is, in fact, on Gallifrey. This is the mindfuckiest thing of all. This is a mind bender episode by a long shot. It is one of those things that I don't know what's going to happen next episode, other than I'm pretty sure the Valyard's going to get involved. Just saying, I'm pretty sure. Watch that name get brought up, because they mention a regeneration experiment. When they first started mentioning the Valyard, way, like 6th Doctor, I think they mentioned the Valyard was the creation of a regeneration experiment done around the Doctor's 13th incarnation, which the 12th Doctor is the 13th incarnation, technically, because of the War Doctor. So I'm thinking it has a lot to do with him. There's also all this talk of the hybrid, and it gets brought up again, of course. But the Doctor mentions there is no hybrid. The Daleks would never allow a half-Dalek creature. But the hybrid that they are mentioning that is meant to take, I think it was like conquer Gallifrey and rule the whatever, rule over its ruins, I think is what he said, is me. And that's getting into interesting territory, because that might be getting into like that whole 8th Doctor, I'm half human, half Time Lord bit of business. But I'm not touching that until the episode touches it, because that's a can of worms. A lot of people aren't really sure what to make of the 8th Doctor business. But anyway, this episode, again, it was very well done. It kind of brings back the chalkboard, which I'm glad to see. It brings back it wasn't really that funny, but I don't think it was meant to be, which is fine. But again, it was very Shakespearean in how everything just kind of went. It was very it was different, but at the same time it still fit. I don't really know any other ways to word it. Like, it's very bizarre. Is, again, just the best way I can think of to properly word it. It is a very excellent episode, because a lot of it is just watching the 12th Doctor monologue, which is my favorite part of a lot of episodes. Though, granted, the monologues in the other ones, like the one in Listen, the one in Before the Flood, are much more... they have more of a feeling of comedy. And even the Zygon Inversion monologue or speech or whatever you want to call it isn't that funny, but it's much more striking because of how kind of dead serious and how angry he gets. What's just so interesting about this is that it is dead serious, and it's not exactly what I would have thought, but it is very, very good. I think is kind of the key point I want to get across here. This is a very good episode, but it's one of those things that, like every other episode in this entire season, except for one, which was just a weird episode, come to think of it, it's one of those things that you really do have to watch both parts to kind of get the perfect feel for. Now, granted, this is a very self-contained episode, but at the end of the day, this is a two-parter, and I'm going to have to watch the next episode to find out what in God's name is going on. Because this is going to be an interesting finale. That's all I'm going to say. This is going to be a weird one. Because all the talk of regeneration and the confessional and the fact that he's on Gallifrey and all of this is going to be weird. This is going to be extremely weird. So we're going to have to see where the heck this is all going. And I will see you next time as I reach towards the stop button. And I realize people can't probably hear what I'm saying right now. Okay, now we can. As I reach towards the stop button on my Audacity, ladies and gentlemen, I shall see you next week for Hellbent. And we're going to find out what in the name of hell is going on. I shall see you.